There will be days when you don't feel strong, days when your willpower is on empty. When the fire is low, and every voice in your head tells you to take it easy, to push it off until tomorrow, to let yourself slide. But let me tell you the truth, most never face. Those days are the days that matter most, because discipline is not forged when you feel inspired. It's not built when you're on top of the world. Discipline is built in the dark, when no one is watching, when your excuses sound louder than your vision, when you are weak and you still choose strength. You want to change your life. Don't wait for the motivation. Don't wait to feel ready. Because discipline has nothing to do with feelings. It's a decision, a command you give yourself. And the ones who rise in this world, they learn to execute even when their emotions scream quit. Think of every giant in history, Lincoln, Carnegie, Edison, Mandela. They didn't wait to feel disciplined. They created it. One small act at a time, 1 hour, one choice, one stand. And you can too, because discipline isn't something you're born with, it's something you build. So when you feel weak, that's not the end. That's the beginning. That's the moment the average step back and the uncommon step forward. So how do you build discipline when your strength is failing? How do you become consistent when your emotions betray you? How do you become unshakable when everything in you wants to fall apart? It begins with the first principle: you do not negotiate with weakness. The second, your mind starts offering alternatives. Just sleep in. Just skip it. Just this once, you must shut it down. No room for debate. No seat at the table. You decide what kind of person you are, and then you act like it. Because every moment you give in to weakness, you teach your brain that comfort wins, that compromise wins, that the little voice of fear is your leader. And every moment you reject it, you reinforce a different identity. The identity of a warrior, of a builder, of a person who gets it done regardless of mood. Discipline doesn't start big. It starts with the refusal to negotiate. And yes, it will be uncomfortable. But discomfort is not your enemy. It is the price of power. Your mind is like a muscle. You either train it with pressure or you let it atrophy. And every time you choose the hard path, you stretch its capacity. The second principle, you tie discipline to purpose, not emotion. Because if your habits are tied to how you feel, you will never be consistent. But if they are tied to who you are becoming, they become non-negotiable. You don't train because it's fun. You train because you're becoming strong. You don't study because it's easy. You study because you're becoming wise. You don't get up early because you feel like it. You do it because the future you demands it. The stronger your why, the easier it is to suffer well. That's what Edison understood. That's what Disney understood. That's what every great man and woman understood. The ability to suffer with purpose is the mark of a legend. Tie your daily grind to your identity, not your feelings. Because identity always outlives emotion. And if you don't know your purpose yet, make it simple to become someone you respect. To look in the mirror and know I did what I said I would do. That's power. That's honor. That's where real confidence is born. Third, you build discipline through repetition, not intensity. Too many people want to change everything overnight. They go all in for 3 days and then crash. But discipline isn't built in explosions. It's built in rhythm, daily, quietly, ruthlessly. Think of a blacksmith forging a sword. He doesn't hit it once and call it done. He hammers it again and again. Small, precise strikes until the steel is shaped by consistency. You are the same. It's not about massive change. It's about micro-mastery. Small acts of discipline stacked daily that become identity. 5 minutes of cold silence in the morning. 10 pages of truth from a book that expands your mind. 1 workout when you didn't feel like it. 1 healthy meal when junk food whispered your name. 1 promise kept, even if no one else sees it. That's the forge. That's the grind. That's how real people build real lives. Because discipline isn't what you do once, it's who you are when no one is clapping. Repetition, not intensity, brick by brick. And the fourth truth, you protect your environment because willpower is not infinite. Your thoughts are being shaped every second by what you hear, what you see, and who you're around. So audit your life. What voices are you allowing in your head? What messages are you absorbing when you're tired, distracted, and vulnerable? Because if your environment is filled with weak people, toxic media, endless distractions, and negativity, your discipline will always be under siege. But if you surround yourself with growth, silent structure, and standards, your thoughts will fortify, not fade. You cannot plant seeds of greatness in the soil of chaos and expect them to grow. Create order. Create silence. Create boundaries that serve your vision. Because your environment is the incubator of your identity. And finally, you move through resistance, not around it. The weak look for shortcuts. The disciplined face the wall and go through it. They feel the pain and keep moving. They feel the doubt and act anyway. They feel the fatigue and refuse to fold. Because they know resistance is not the enemy. It is the signal. It means you're in the right place. It means you're on the edge of growth. And every time you push through, the resistance gets smaller and you get stronger. Like Carnegie said, the man who acquires the ability to take full possession of his own mind may take possession of anything else to which he is justly entitled. Discipline is that ability. The power to push through when it's inconvenient, to rise when you're tired, to keep going when no one is cheering. You do it not because it's easy. You do it because it's who you are now. Because once you choose discipline over comfort, even when you're at your weakest, you've already won a war most never even fight. You are no longer ruled by circumstance. You are no longer waiting for the right time. You are no longer begging life to be easy. You've decided, I will be stronger than my excuses. This one decision is more powerful than talent, more rare than motivation, and more valuable than any gift. Because discipline is not sexy. It is not celebrated, but it is the root of everything that matters. Without it, potential rots. Without it, dreams die in daydreams. Without it, nothing is real, only empty talk and wasted time. But with it, you become dangerous. You become a force the world can no longer ignore. You stop being a spectator. You become a creator. And that's when things begin to move. Not because life gets easier, but because you are finally aligned. Mind and body. Thought and action. Desire and decision. This is what most people miss. They think discipline is punishment, that it's about restriction. But they don't realize discipline is freedom. It is the doorway between the life you have and the life you want. It's the quiet commitment that turns chaos into clarity. It's the daily devotion that transforms chaos into order. When your life is ruled by emotion, everything is random. But when your life is ruled by discipline, everything becomes intentional. You don't hope you'll show up. You know you will because it's who you are now. That's the shift. That's what changes everything. You go from I should to I must, from I want to I do. From maybe one day to now without excuse. This is how giants rise, not by chance but by choice, and you are choosing right now to become uncommon. Look around you. The world is flooded with people waiting for clarity, waiting for energy, waiting for support, waiting for certainty. But you're not one of them. You've learned that waiting weakens, that every time you wait for perfect conditions, you lose a piece of yourself. But every time you act in the storm, in the fatigue, in the doubt, you build a stronger identity. That identity becomes your new standard, and your standard becomes your future. This is how legacies are born. Think of Nelson Mandela, decades locked away in a prison cell. No applause, no sunlight, just silence and steel. He could have faded into despair. He could have let the years rot him from the inside out. But he held the line. He stayed disciplined. He kept his purpose clear, his thoughts focused, his actions rooted in principle. And when the door finally opened, he didn't walk out bitter. He walked out ready. That's what discipline does. It doesn't just get you through the dark, it prepares you for the light. And what about you? You think your fatigue disqualifies you. You think your failure defines you. You think your circumstances are too heavy. Let me remind you. The greatest men and women didn't rise because they were perfect. They rose because they kept showing up when it was hard. When it didn't make sense, when everything inside them screamed, "Stop!" But they didn't stop. They moved anyway. And that's all you have to do. One more step, one more repetition, one more small act of defiance against weakness. That's all it takes, not to impress the world, but to prove something to yourself. Because the real reward of discipline isn't the outcome. It's the person you become in the process. It's looking in the mirror and knowing I kept the promise. I showed up. I refused to fold. That kind of self-respect. It's rare, it's real, and it's built one day at a time, even when you feel weak, especially when you feel weak. Because those are the days when discipline matters most. Those are the moments when you earn your future. So when the alarm goes off and you're tired, get up anyway. When the workout hurts and your muscles scream, keep going. When the results are slow and the process is silent, stay the course. When your goals feel far and the rewards feel small, trust the roots. Because the seeds you plant now in the mud, in the fatigue, in the silence, they will become your forest. But only if you don't quit. Because most people never reap what they sow. Not because the dream wasn't real, but because they lacked the discipline to stay in the ground long enough for the harvest. Not you. Not anymore. You've planted your standard. You've set your intention. Now you water it daily. With action. With purpose. With discipline, especially when you feel weak. Because discipline isn't just the bridge between where you are and where you want to go. It is the becoming. It is the daily choice to say, I don't feel strong, but I act strong. I don't feel motivated, but I move anyway. I don't feel like it today, but I refuse to give my feelings the steering wheel. And the more you choose this path, the more it becomes who you are. Not something you try, something you live. You must stop hoping for it to get easier, because it won't. Life doesn't bend for the weak. It tests them, breaks them, crushes them if they let it. But those with discipline, they bend life. They don't wait for conditions to become ideal. They create conditions through command, through structure, through relentless repetition. And that's what you're doing now, turning chaos into command, turning hesitation into habit. Because every time you act with discipline, when it's hard, when it's heavy, when it's inconvenient, you send a signal to the world, I am not for sale. I cannot be bought by comfort. I cannot be seduced by easy. I am not part of the average. And the world begins to rearrange. New doors open. New people enter. New power flows. Not because of luck, but because of alignment. And the key to that alignment, consistency. Most people are addicted to intensity, to moments of hype, flashes of effort, bursts of temporary motivation. But discipline is not born in fireworks. It's born in the fire. Daily fire. The kind that doesn't need attention. The kind that doesn't need praise. The kind that burns beneath the surface, steady and sure, long after the noise fades. That's what real ones do. They wake up when the world sleeps. They prepare when others procrastinate. They master their routine until it becomes ritual. Not for applause, for authority over self. Because when you can command yourself, you can command anything. Do you understand what that means? When you no longer need external pressure to take action, when you no longer need someone to push you. Watch you remind you. When you can move yourself even when you're weak, that's when the world becomes yours. That's when you stop chasing success and start becoming it. You move differently. You think differently. You walk into the gym, into the office, into the room, and they feel it. Not because you said anything, because your discipline precedes you. It's in your posture. It's in your gaze. It's in your calm. Because discipline is not loud. It's not arrogant. It's rooted. And when you're rooted, storms can't move you. People's opinions can't shake you. Failure doesn't scare you. Because you know who you are. And who are you? You're the one who shows up. You're the one who follows through. You're the one who keeps promises not to impress others, but because you refuse to betray yourself. And that's what separates the few from the many. Most people betray themselves daily. They say they'll change. They don't. They say they'll start Monday. They don't. They say they're committed until it gets hard. But you're done with that life. You've chosen a higher way, not because it's easy, but because it's right. You've chosen the way of warriors, builders, leaders. The way of people like Andrew Carnegie, who rose from nothing, not because life handed him anything, but because his daily habits outworked his circumstances. He earned his discipline in silence long before the world called him great. And so will you. And there will still be days you feel weak. That won't stop. But now you'll respond differently. Now you'll hear the voice that says quit, and you'll laugh. Because you know the secret weakness is the signal. Discipline is the answer. And every time you choose discipline, when you feel weak, you gain ground on your future. Every time you keep going when quitting would be easier. You build muscle others don't even know exists. Mental muscle, spiritual muscle. The kind of strength that can't be bought, faked, or gifted, only earned. That's why you keep going, not because you feel strong, but because you're training to be. Because every hard moment is now a rep for your mindset, a rep for your habits, a rep for your legacy. And legacies are not written on paper. They're written in the daily grind, in the repetition no one sees, in the battle with your own laziness, fear, and doubt. And when you win that battle, the internal one, there's nothing the external world can throw at you that you can't handle. That's the truth. When your discipline is internal, no storm can shake your foundation. So keep building it. 1 hour at a time. One decision at a time. One small act of defiance against weakness at a time. You are stronger than you feel. You are further than you think. And you are more capable than your mind is letting on. That voice telling you you're too tired. Too far behind, too late. That voice is lying. And your discipline is the proof. Because even when you feel weak, you move anyway. Even when you're drained, you rise anyway. Even when it's hard, you choose growth anyway. That is the soul of greatness. That is the path to power. And now, you walk it not with perfection, but with persistence. Because persistence becomes power. And power becomes identity. There is a moment, a quiet moment, when everything in you is screaming to stop, and you don't. That moment may not look like much from the outside. It may not earn applause. But in that moment, you cross a line most people never reach. The line between comfort and commitment, between the old self and the new self, between who you were and who you choose to become. And when you cross that line, you don't need to announce it. The world will feel it. Because your energy changes, your presence changes, your thoughts sharpen, your voice carries weight. You are no longer reacting to life, you are writing it. With every action, with every refusal to fold, with every defiant step forward when the tank is empty. This is not just discipline anymore. It's transcendence. Because you've proven not to them but to yourself that you are more than your feelings. You are more than your mood. You are more than your weakness. You are the master. And everything else, pain, fatigue, distraction, resistance, it all bows to you. And now a shift happens. Because when you've proven you can be disciplined when you're at your weakest, then discipline is no longer a tool. It becomes your nature. You don't think about showing up. You just do. You don't wonder if you'll quit. You won't. You don't wrestle with every little task. You execute, because it's who you are now. You've carved it into your identity with effort, with fire, with repetition. And identity is destiny, not luck, not chance, not privilege, but standard. You live by it now, and that standard echoes through everything you do. The way you train, the way you lead, the way you speak, the way you move through the world. It all speaks to one truth. You have disciplined your soul. You have silenced the noise. You have made peace with the grind. Not because you love pain, but because you love what it builds. You love what it forges. You love who you become on the other side of it. This is the transformation the undisciplined never know. They may chase dreams. They may start strong. They may talk loud. But without discipline, it's all a spark without flame, a firework without heat, a life that flashes and fades instead of one that burns eternal. Not you. You chose the fire and stayed in it. You chose the path and kept walking. You chose the work and did it even when your body begged for rest, even when your mind tried to sabotage your purpose. And that choice, that relentless, stubborn daily choice, that is the source of all power. That is what makes kings rise. That is what builds empires. That is what separates the ones who merely talk about their goals from the ones who manifest them. Discipline is the difference. So now hear this one final truth. When you feel weak, move anyway. When you feel behind, grind anyway. When you feel doubt, act anyway. Because every time you do, the weakness dies a little more. And your true self, the disciplined, focused, purpose-driven version of you, comes alive. And eventually, it's not about effort anymore. It's not about fighting yourself anymore. It's just who you are. Unshakable, unstoppable, undeniable. So from this day forward, you no longer wait for strength. You generate it. You no longer chase discipline. You live it. Because you've learned how to build it, even when you feel weak. Especially when you feel weak. And that is when the world begins to bend, not to your will, but to your example.